Be honest. Do you know those conversations that feel meaningful in the moment, but afterwards nothing really changes? You reflect, you understand a bit more. You maybe even feel relieved. And then, a few days later, you notice you're still in the same pattern? Well, what I do as a coach is not only create space for insights. I want to create space for transformation. And that usually asks for more than a nice conversation. It asks for courage. If you are listening on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or YouTube, follow the show. It helps more people to find this weekly pause. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to You're Amazing, your space to pause, to calm down, reconnect to your roots, awaken your spirit, and see what truly matters. This podcast is called You're Amazing for a reason. You are naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. Nothing's missing, and you are not broken. In the last episode, I talked about one of the cornerstones of coactive, that people are naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. And there are 3 other cornerstones. Dance in this moment, staying present and flexible with what is happening right now instead of forcing your plan. Focus on the whole person, not coaching only the issue or the problem, but the human being behind it. And then this one, Evoke Transformation. And today I want to talk about this one. Because for me, this one is one of the most exciting parts of becoming a coach and also one of the most uncomfortable. It's one thing to have a meaningful conversation. It's another thing to help create real change. I'm Jorma, a coactive coach, building my own practice, and I've worked in corporate for more than 20 years. And today, we're talking about what it means to evoke transformation in coaching and leadership, and really in any moment where something important wants to move. Let's dive right in. I think a lot of conversations stay thoughtful, safe, and well said, but still don't go very far. They bring awareness. They bring understanding. Sometimes they bring relief. But they do not always create movement. And that's the difference that matters here. Because transformation is not just, oh, I get myself better now. Transformation is when something actually shifts. You see differently. You feel something new. Or you're not as available for the old pattern anymore. You sense that a different version of you is starting to come forward. That's what makes this cornerstone so powerful to me. It takes the conversation deeper than the usual story, deeper than the part that wants to stay safe, deeper than the polished answer that sounds good but doesn't really change anything. And it can start with asking different questions. What is trying to grow here? What truth wants to be spoken? What is ready to change? That's where coaching becomes more than a good talk. Because if I stay only with what is comfortable, reasonable, and easy to say, the client may feel seen, but they may not actually move. And that is the edge for me. To evoke transformation means I cannot only be kind, thoughtful, and insightful. Sometimes I need to interrupt. Sometimes I need to name what is happening right there in the room. Sometimes I need to say something more clearly than feels comfortable. And sometimes I need to let go of what I thought I was going to ask next, so I can really respond to what this moment needs. That is where it gets alive. And yes, that can feel risky. This is one of the places where I feel my own growth as a coach the most. Because I care deeply. I want people to feel safe with me. I want trust. I want to meet them in a way that feels human and respectful. And that is beautiful. But I also noticed that sometimes my care can become caution. I can feel a moment where something deeper is there, and at the same time, I feel the pull to stay a little safer, to ask the softer question, to stay with the reflection that already sounds good, and to let this moment pass. Not because I don't care, actually because I do. And I think this is exactly where Evoke Transformation and dancing in the moment meet each other. Because real transformation is rarely something I can plan. Most of the time it shows up live, in a pause, in a shift of energy, in something the client says or doesn't say. In a moment where I suddenly sense there is more here. And then the question becomes, can I stay present enough to notice it? Can I trust myself enough to respond to what is actually happening? That for me is the edge. It's not about being bold just to be bold. It's about being present enough that courage becomes useful. Because transformation is never waiting for me in something that I prepared as a structure. It appears in the moment, and then I either meet it or I miss it. This is also why that coactive phrase stays with me so much. You have to be willing to be fired. Not in a reckless way, not to prove something, but in service of the client and the coachee, in service of the truth, in service of growth, in service of the possibility that this conversation could become more than just another nice exchange. And I really feel that challenge. Am I willing to risk not being liked for a moment? Am I willing to risk being misunderstood? Am I willing to challenge, interrupt, or intrude when something important is trying to happen? And I'm still learning that. And I think this is a lifetime journey. And what I'm learning is real transformation usually asks for more courage than comfort. Because the most loving thing is not to soothe the moment. It is to name it. Not to rescue, but to stay with it. Not to stay in awareness only, but to invite the next honest step. And this matters far beyond coaching. It matters in leadership. It matters in relationships. It matters when someone, including me, keeps circling the same story and something deeper is asking to move. Because sometimes the real question is not, how do I make this easier? Sometimes the real question is, what wants to change here? And am I brave enough to serve that? So if I put Evoke Transformation simply, for me it means these three things. First, don't stop at awareness. Awareness matters. It's often the beginning. But on its own, it doesn't always change anything. At some point, the question becomes, what now? What shifts from here? And what am I going to do, say, or choose differently? The second, respond to what the moment needs. Sometimes that means interrupting the old pattern. Sometimes it means slowing down. Sometimes it means naming what is happening right now. And sometimes it simply means trusting the live moment more than the structure in your head. Third, serve the person's becoming, not only their comfort. That is the deepest part for me, because transformation means I'm not only listening to fear, protection, strategy, or limitation. I'm also listening for the part that is more alive, the part that is growing, the part that already knows something new is possible. That's why Evoke Transformation feels so alive to me. It's not about performing as a coach. It's about trusting that the person in front of me is capable of becoming more themselves and being willing to meet them there. Okay, let's do a short pause together and bring one situation to your mind. A place in your life where you already understand the pattern, but nothing has really shifted yet. And take one slow breath. And ask yourself, what do I really know here? And then ask, if awareness alone were enough, what could already be different? And take another breath. And now, what is this moment asking of me? What truth, risk, or courageous step have I been avoiding? And just notice what comes. No pressure, no judgment. And then ask yourself, what would transformation ask of me next? Not the perfect step, just the next true one. Maybe it's one sentence. Maybe it's one boundary. Maybe it's one honest conversation. Choose one and quietly say to yourself, I do not only want awareness, I am available for change. And take one last breath. And that's the pause. Here's your question for the week. Where in my life have I confused awareness with transformation? Or maybe even more simply, what truth, risk, or courageous step could create real change now? If this pause helped you, follow or subscribe so you can come back next time. And if someone came to mind while listening, maybe send this episode to them. I'll see you in the next pause. Because sometimes the real shift is not in understanding the pattern better. It's in becoming brave enough to change it. You're amazing. Bye.